Welcome back to the channel, where we uncover the stories of love, betrayal, and resilience. Today's story is about a man whose world shattered when he discovered his wife's secret affair at a Christmas party. What began as heartbreak turned into a battle for truth, justice, and rebuilding a life from the ground up. Stay tuned, because this one is a powerful reminder that even in the ruins of betrayal, strength and hope can rise again. I lingered in the back corner of the banquet hall, the sound of carols weaving softly through the air. The company's annual holiday party glittered with lights and laughter, but all I could see was my wife slipping away. Sarah. She smiled too easily at her boss as she followed him through a side door marked private. My stomach tightened. I drifted closer, the weight of my beer bottle slick in my hand. Through the small gap where the office door hadn't fully closed, I saw their lips meet. His hand was on her waist, hers tugging at his tie. My pulse roared in my ears, yet I stood frozen, nails digging into the glass until I heard the faint creak of it bending. Her name is Sarah Whitfield. We'd been married 10 years. Her boss, Daniel Reeves, CEO of Reeves Development. And me. My name is Michael Carter, 36 years old, carpenter, small-scale contractor, father to a bright-eyed 8-year-old girl, Lily, who at that very moment was home with a babysitter, tucked into bed with her favorite storybook. I didn't storm in. I didn't shout. I didn't cause a scene. Instead, I stood there as the truth cracked across my life like a hammer blow. Everything was about to change. On the drive home, I didn't speak. The Christmas lights along the neighborhood rooftops flickered like cruel reminders of what was lost. Sarah hummed softly, pretending the party had ended early. I knew better. She didn't even bother to cover her tracks. That night, I sat in silence on the couch. No television, no distractions. Just the ticking of the wall clock and the hollow ache inside my chest. 3 hours passed before the front door opened. She stepped in, her lipstick smudged, her hair messier than when she had left. "Michael, why are you sitting in the dark?" she asked, dropping her coat onto the chair. I studied her. "Headache," I muttered. The lie rolled easily off her tongue. "Party ended early." No, I thought. It didn't. But I didn't challenge her. I just stood up, told her I was going to bed, and let the silence swallow us. Sleep never came. Instead, I began planning. By dawn, I was in my workshop, the old detached garage that had long been my sanctuary. Sawdust, varnish, and raw lumber usually calmed me, but that morning they sharpened my focus. I pulled out a sketch pad. No client order this time. This design was mine alone. "Daddy!" I looked up. Lily stood in the doorway, her hair tangled from sleep, rubbing her eyes with tiny fists. She looked so much like Sarah it hurt. "Hey, sweetheart," I said softly, forcing a smile. "What are you making?" she asked. I glanced down at my pencil scratching across the page. "Just some ideas." She tugged at the apron I'd sewn for her last Christmas. "Can I help?" "Always," I whispered, lifting her onto the bench. She didn't know it, but while she sanded a small block of wood, she wasn't just helping me smooth its surface. She was helping me rebuild something far more important. Myself. That morning set something in motion. Sarah came to the workshop later, holding a mug of coffee, wrapped in her robe. She leaned against the doorway, her smile tight. "There you two are. Breakfast is ready," she said. "5 more minutes, Mom." "I'm helping Dad," Lily chirped without looking up. "She's fine," I said flatly when Sarah protested about sawdust. "We're bonding." Sarah's sigh carried more annoyance than care. "We're supposed to have brunch with my parents, remember?" "You go ahead," I told her. "Tell them I had an emergency job." Her eyes narrowed. She knew that excuse, it was hers. But I held my ground. That was the first shift. The first moment I refused to play along with her performance. The next weeks blurred. By day I worked my contracts. By night, I poured myself into a forgotten house on the edge of town, one the bank had nearly given away. Rot had chewed through its bones, but beneath the decay, I saw strength. Foundations worth saving. At the same time, I began gathering threads of truth. Paperwork Sarah had brought home casually, invoices that didn't line up, duplicates with mismatched totals. I documented everything, quietly, carefully. The more I dug, the clearer it became. Daniel Reeves wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was running a fraud empire. Fake permits, cheap substitutions, safety reports that never happened. And Sarah was tangled in it. Maybe she hadn't started it, but she'd chosen to stay. This wasn't just betrayal. It was corruption. And I wasn't going to let it keep rotting unchecked. Piece by piece, I rebuilt that house. Every nail I drove in was a nail in Daniel Reeves' coffin. Friends showed up too. Old co-workers, fellow tradesmen, people who'd been burned by Reeves but too scared to fight him. They picked up hammers, laid tile, fixed wiring. Not for money. For something bigger. We weren't just restoring wood and brick. We were restoring truth. Sarah noticed my distance, my absence, my silence. She tried to bait me with anger, guilt, even a flicker of false remorse. But I was past that. When she admitted Reeves had proposed to her, I didn't flinch. "Congratulations," I said. And I meant it. Because by then, I had something stronger than marriage vows or empty apologies. I had evidence. I had allies. I had purpose. It all came to a head faster than I expected. For days after I handed the files to the state attorney's office, I unlocked the Victorian I'd been restoring only to find it gutted. Cabinets smashed, paint splashed across the floors, windows shattered. It wasn't random. It was a message. But instead of breaking me, it bound the crew tighter. Men I hadn't seen in years showed up with tool belts ready. "Let's put it back," they said. "Better this time." And we did. Because when Daniel Reeves thought he could destroy me with violence, all he really did was show how afraid he was. Afraid of the truth. Afraid of losing control. I knew he'd come for me sooner or later. And when he did, in a diner full of witnesses, he leaned across the table, teeth bared, fists trembling, hissing that I didn't know who I was up against. He was wrong. I knew exactly who he was. A man who built an empire of lies. And I was the one holding the match that could burn it all down. And I was ready to strike. That's the story of how betrayal lit a fire I didn't know I had. How I took what was broken and rebuilt something stronger. Not just for me. Not just for Lily. But for everyone who'd been forced to stay silent. Because sometimes, justice isn't handed to you. Sometimes you have to build it with your own two hands. Thank you for watching. This story reminds us that betrayal doesn't have to define the rest of your life. It can be the spark that leads to rebuilding something stronger. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another powerful story. And remember, no matter how broken things may feel, there's always a way forward.